Hello everyone and welcome back to another single button guide. Today we're going to talk about the Devourer Demon Hunter, which is the newest spec they have added into the game. So, when you open up the talent tree, you can see here that Demon Hunters, they have gotten a new one called Devour, and which I have used quite some time on now to create a build that I believe is the ultimate build for the single button assistant. Of course, the longer this game, the alpha has been out, remember this is on the alpha right now, the longer the alpha is out, the people will test the specs and see what deals most damage. But for me, this one here was definitely the one I feel like is the best, especially for single button assistant. So in today's video, we're going to go through the stats, the talents, the rotation, and summary. We're going to skip the gameplay because I simply cannot queue for a dungeon. I need to first get high level up with this character here. So that would be like a separate video. I'm going to make a video where I'm going to showcase a dungeon with this spec here. So that's going to be a second separate video. But I didn't think as well this video should be very long because, it's a spec that is still in alpha. It could basically, tomorrow, the entire build could change and everything I just said now would be not necessary. Well, you know what I mean. But still, it's a fun video because if you want to learn about this spec here, what you can expect from it when the game actually releases, you'll learn all the essential things now. So let's get to it. So let's talk about stats. First of all, we have intellect as our first primary stat. So this is quite new because Demon Hunters usually uses, agility. But in this spec here, the Devour spec here, we actually use intellect, which is interesting. Beside of that, with intellect, what I usually always recommend in my guides is that I would always go with the highest eye level. So that means if you have an item that is an upgrade level adventurer and you get a veteran, then I would go with the veteran. If you get a champion, I would go with the champion. If you go with a hero, I would go with hero. If you get another champion item while you are inside champion item with your item, then that's where I would look at these stats here. But beside of that, I would always go with a higher upgrade level. And remember, when you open up your gear, you can then see that which level it is, which I cannot on this character here since it's the alpha and I got shit again that one. So yeah, never mind. The first secondary stat we got to look at is critical strike. Critical strike is so important for us, and let me try explain you why. I need to close down this since I cannot move around my boxes. So we have a spell called Collapsing Star, which is kind of like our main damaging big nuke cooldown ability, and we do have another stat. We have another thing over here saying Collapsing Star critical strike damage is increased by 100% of your critical strike chance. So the more crit we have, the more this big burst cooldown is going to deal damage. And we also have this one here where it's always gonna crit. So that means now it's always gonna crit. It's always gonna, it deals even more damage the more crit we have. And now when we go into our Metamorphosis form, it's ready to be, we could use the Collapsing Star, which is this one here, ASAP. So critical strike is such a nice thing for the Devourer, well, with this big at least, because if you don't play with these, if you remove these, then you actually don't need critical strike, which makes it really interesting. You could go with something else, but playing with this, it makes your build very critical strike focused, which is quite interesting actually, that you can actually change what stat you need depending what talent you pick in here. But that's just so you know it. Let me get this back here. So, okay. So yeah, so basically critical strike is the first one. Then we are saying haste is also really good, like kind of almost equal, because haste is reducing the global cooldown. When you usually use a spell like this, you can see it turns around. When you don't use a single button assistance, it's 1.5 second. With the single button assistant, it's 1.8 second. So that's why haste is actually reducing the global cooldown, which makes it even more smooth to use. Also, it gives us faster energy regeneration, which is called Fury in this build here. And it just makes us also attack speed go faster. So, and channeling go faster and stuff like that. So very nice, just makes the entire single button assistant more smooth. Then we have versatility. Versatility is increasing the damage you do. Every percent of versatility is increasing the damage with deal damage, but half of it is also reducing the damage. For example, if you have 10 versatility, for example, we can open here, see. Yeah, I actually don't have versatility on this character here, interesting. But if I had 10% versatility, I would deal 10% increased damage and I will take 5% less damage. I will take like 5% less damage, which is of course very nice. Mastery is the worst one so far because what it actually does, it's kind of like a, I don't know, like bummer-ish, because you can see right now I do have 7% mastery. Then I have this one in here. All cosmic damage dealt is increased by 6%. So my 6% mastery is actually just increasing my 6% damage, which is the same as versatility, which is like, okay, sure, why not? But then it also has, while you are in Metamorphosis, this bonus is increased by an additional 10%. So of course, when you go into Metamorphosis, you're going to deal way more with mastery. But the problem is you're not going to be in Metamorphosis all the time. You're also going to have like outside times out of Metamorphosis. So the question is, do you want pure more damage, or do you want like more damage but also reduce damage taken? So it's kind of like a debate up to you. Do you want like, yeah, because mastery is going to give you purely only more damage, and versatility is giving you always more damage, which of course mastery would also do, but versatility also makes you just a little bit more tankier and more self-heal, which can of course be nice in different content where you need to be a bit more tanky or self-sustainly. So again, like the last two stats, again, I would also say it's kind of up to you which one you want to go with. But again, with this build here that I am showing with this single button assistant guide here, we're going crit, haste, versatility, mastery. So, but let's go to the talents. Then as the talents, we have the Devourer talent here, which, you know, of course is the new spec here, the Devourer Demon Hunter talent. And we are running with Annihilator. Annihilator is more like well, Annihilator, I don't know how you say that, Annihilator. This is more like a range focus build that like gives you more reward for like throwing your cosmic, the one we talked about before, Collapsing Star, the big one. Where Felscat is more like focused on like a melee build. So it's kind of like you go full range here, kind of full range, and you go full, not full, but you go like a bit more like melee here. So it's kind of like melee focused, ranged focused. But because the Annihilator is the newest one, I was like, you know what? Let's go with that one because everyone knows Felscat. Of course, it's a bit different now with all the changes, but still. So this is the talent I'm going to show you, which is I mean, this build here would be fine for both dungeons and raids. And I mean, by the time you're all going to play this build anyway, it's going to probably be changed or something like that. But again, I wanted to take the opportunity to show you this build because I thought it would be quite fun to still show you this. So yeah, let's go in and let's go through the talent. So first of all, we have here on the left side the Demon Hunter tree. We have Vengeful Retreat, which is of course the standard spell where you can like, you know, retreat. It of course also has like a Demon Hunter effect, like a Void effect on it, since we are in the Void spec. But it's just like a way of like getting away from something. It also removes all snares, and you know, yeah, you can get away every 25 seconds. Then we have a new spell here called Void Blade. Very interesting. Unleash your glaives and charge to your target, dealing 1,600 damage. So basically, you can see here, you're kind of like charging to it. And it's actually quite okay damage because you can see one of our filler spells is dealing 3,000 damage. So it's quite decent. Like, it's an instant spell you can use to chase up on a target, and it deals half the damage of a normal filler spell we have. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's quite nice. It's kind of like a charge, jump, and deals okay damage. Then beside of that, we have increased maximum fury by 20. The reason for why I want more fury is because when we go into our Metamorphosis, so the thing is, like, when you go into the Metamorphosis, the Void Metamorphosis, you start with like the full fury, like full energy, and then it will keep trying to drain it down. And when it hits 0, you're gonna leave Metamorphosis. It's not like the other Demon Hunter specs where there's only like 20 seconds and then you get out. No, you can actually stay in this Metamorphosis as long as you want, but you need to always have more than, you know, 1 fury. So you need to kind of like you keep using spells to generate fury. But with this one here, we're getting 20 more, which is quite nice. So, you know, because you can, in the start, you're gonna keep like overcapping, and then it's gonna drain faster and faster and faster. So it's just nice to have 20 more in overall. We also have the healing of Shattered Souls is increased by 10, which is, yeah, like the Shattered Souls that we are spreading is of course also healing us. So this is just kind of like, you know, giving some additional healing. We also have bouncing glaives, so glaives hits one additional target. We're not really using glaives in this build here because glaives only deal 100 damage and our fillers build deals 3000 damage. Remember they have stat squitch, so all the numbers is lower. You can see I only have 54k healing, life, as it's called. But this one here, yeah, so basically the only reason we picked this one here is to get the next one here, which is Void Nova. You know, Void Nova is a great spell where you can like very quickly stun everyone around you for 2 seconds. So you can see unleash an eruption of void energy, dealing 100 cast damage and stunning your target at all enemy. Okay, actually this one is a bit different. It doesn't anymore stun everyone around you. It's actually stunning your target. So it kind of like shoots at your target and stuns everyone around it, which is quite nice. So that's the only reason for your picking bouncing glaives. We also have imprison, where you can like imprison them up, kind of like sheeping them for a minute. We also have Chat Warblades, where you heal for 3% of all the fire damage you deal. I think this one here might still need like an update, because as I understand is we don't really have any fire damage. I mean we do have soul inflation. Oh, okay, that one actually deals fire damage. And this one deals cosmic damage, and cosmic damage. So we do have one spell that deals fire damage. So yeah, I have a feeling this one is gonna get changed later on. So it maybe says cosmic damage when you are actually in this build here instead. Because you know we only have like one spell that deals fire damage in this build here. Maybe Feldscar has more, but still, it seems a bit weird. Then, of course, we had our Void Nova, which is our stun. We had Improved Disrupt, which is increasing the range of our Interrupt spell. So now our Interrupt spell has a 31. So basically, if the mob is casting something we don't want them to cast, you can use Disrupt and interrupt them. But now it has 10 yard extra range. We also have Consume Magic, where you consume one beneficial magic effect, removing it from the target and granting you 20 Fury, which is also nice. We also have Eldraki Design, increasing your chance to parry by 3%. We also have Throw Glaives has 2 charges, as it increased range by 10. We also have Disrupt generates 30 Fury on a successful interrupt, so you know, more Fury is nice. And also Shift gains an additional charge. So normally, you know, Demon Hunters, they have this a spell where they can like, you know, kind of like glide ahead of them. We don't have this one. We have Shift instead, which is kind of like, you know, void teleporting. So you can see we can like teleport on different locations. So you use it and you select where you want to like teleport, which is quite nice. So now it has 2 charges, which is really, really nice. Then we also have Consume Magic, generates 20 Fury when beneficial magic effects is successfully removed from the target. And also increase the critical strike chance of Evaluation Aura by 6%. Keep in mind there's a lot of talents here that is not finished in this tree here, so we kind of, what I pick over here is we're kind of forced to take it. There isn't like really much more. There is also this one here, which when you actually parry, you will restore 2% of health, but since you are playing a DPS spec, this one would only really be like working if you played you know, like a solo gameplay or delves or something like that, but in a dungeon raid or whatever, you wouldn't really use this one here. That's like only for the tanks, really. Then we have Mastery, increase our movement speed, which is very nice. Leech is increased by 10, and gain additional 10 Leech in Metamorphosis, which is really nice. So every time we deal damage, 10% of all the damage we deal is actually healing back to us, which is insane. And also Immolation Aura, increase your armor by 20, causes melee attackers to suffer 27 damage. So this one here is a bit interesting because I don't actually know if it works correctly, because right now I have 160 armor. Yeah, so it doesn't work because we actually don't have Immolation Aura. So yet again, one thing that, you know, this alpha here is not really thinking about. But of course, this was also going to be this is also going to be fixed. But the reason for why we pick it right now is so we can get 5% more maximum health, which is fine. I mean, we don't have really much other things we can pick between. Then we also have Infernal Strike, increase your movement speed by 10. Again, that's also a tank spell, so we cannot use that one as well. And reduce the magic damage taken by 5. You can see quite a lot of these things seems like, you know, it came from the tank tree, but yeah. The cast range of Void Blade, Consume Magic, and Disrupt is increased by 20 yards additionally. So now a Void Blade actually has a 35 yard. So you can see I can freaking use here Void Blade from all over here. which is quite insane. And it also worked on Void Plane, Consume Magic, and Disrupt. So now our Interrupt spell is also 31 range, and our Consume Magic is 50 range, which is crazy. Then we have increased mastery by 0.8. We also have darkness in case we want to have some defense cooldown. We have the cooldown of Fail Rush is reduced by 20. We don't have Fail Rush, we have shift, so that one probably doesn't work as well. But I mean, it is an alpha. Then we have increased duration of darkness by 3. And yeah, this one here doesn't do anything. Because yeah, they haven't developed that. So technically we could just take those two things up there where we heal when we take damage every 10 seconds, and also Spectral Sight doesn't make us move slower, and it, yeah, 5 second less cooldown. But yeah, that's the Demon Hunter tree we have. It's not really finished yet. There's a few tank things over there, it feels like. But overall, that's the talents we're gonna pick for the Demon Hunter Devourer over here. So let's go to the middle. So now comes the interesting one, because this is the Annihilator, I don't know how you say it, tree in the middle here. First of all, we have Voidfall. Consume has a 35 chance. So Consume is our is basically, it's like our main filler spell. You can see it's kind of like casting I don't know, like Mind Blast or something like that. It's just like it just like drain the essence of you from your target, dealing 3000 damage. The cool thing about this one here is that you can actually use it while moving. So every time you use it, it generates these souls here that I can walk into. So you can see it keeps like generating these souls, shattered souls, which we actually need to use for transforming into a Metamorphosis. So again, it's like one of our main spells to deal like filler damage, and it also keeps generating these souls that you can run into. You can also get these souls by using another spell called Reap, and they will get in, like you will absorb them, but that's for another, like that's for the rotation. But so when you use Consume has 35% chance to grant 1 stack of Voidfall. So basically, whenever like you're using Consume, you have a chance to get Voidfall, which we haven't gotten yet. Let's see if we can actually trigger it. There we go. Building up a Meteor Strike. So now it's building up a Meteor Strike, which is quite cool. That was like the meteors you saw before. Upon reaching 3 stacks of Voidfall, Reap consumes a stack to reach into the void and call down a Meteor Strike at your target location, dealing 1600 cosmic damage to all enemies within 10 yards. So basically what we can do is I can keep spamming, we can try to see how fast it goes. So now we have 2 stacks. Let's see if we can get 3 stacks. There we go. Now if I use Reap, it should be summoning. There we go. You see all the meteors coming down. So basically, whenever we use our filler spell, it has a chance to give us a stack. And then when we use the spell Reap, which is like instant, deal 4000 damage, and also it like pulls in all these souls into us, then it summons this Meteor Strike, which is very nice. So that's the first thing of Voidfall. It's basically giving you like a passive Meteor Strike. So the new thing about the Alpha Midnight expansion is that it has now 4 trees here in the middle here, and so as my understanding is, you cannot get all of them. You have to pick 3 of them and not the last one. That's to my understanding, I believe. But you can see the one I didn't pick is increasing. So every stack we have of this Voidfall is giving us 1% haste. So technically it could give us 3% haste. But then it also has like shift, which is our like our blinker spell ability, has like 1 more charge. And also passive bonus granted by each stack of Voidfall persists for 12 seconds after being consumed. So basically we would keep those 3% haste 12 seconds after we have made it. But I'll come back to why I don't think this over here is the best. So the next one here is Void Ray damage is increased by 15, fully challenging Void Ray generates 1 stack of Voidfall. So Void Ray is our like, it's kind of like, you know, the eye beam ability as a Havoc Demon Hunter, you know, when you're shooting like green laser out of your eyes. This is the same one, but it's just for Devourer Demon Hunters. It's just a blue version instead. But now it deals 50% more, 15% more, not 100, 15% damage. And if you fully challenge it and don't like interrupt it, it will generate 1 additional stack of Voidfall, which of course is very nice. Gain 3 stacks of Voidfall and reset the cooldown of Reap upon activating Void Metamorphosis which is very nice. So that basically means when we get into Metamorphosis, we get ASAPly 3 stacks, which we can ASAPly use with Reap, because Reap also goes off cooldown. So the moment you go into Metamorphosis, then you can use ASAP Reap, and then it will summon the Meteor Storm, which is quite nice. So that means now we both have a Meteor Storm we can use right when we go into a Metamorphosis, and we also have a Collapsing Star we can use because of this one here, Midnight, funny enough, called Midnight, which we can use. So we can both summon a Meteor Storm, and we can both summon a Collapsing Star, which is quite nice. While at 3 stacks Voidfall, Reap consumes all 3, rapidly call down many Meteor strikes. So yeah, while at 3 stacks of Voidfall, Reap consumes all 3, rapidly call down. So before it was kind of like consuming them slowly one by one, but now it instead, to my understanding, is that it will now just kind of like get them all. Because if I take it off, like let me just try and take it off and see what the difference actually is, just to make sure I'm actually understanding it correctly. So now if we use consume, just need we need 3 stacks. Of course, it only has 35% chance. There we go. That was 1 stack. Could we get another stack? That was 2 stacks. And can we get a 3rd stack? There we go. So now I can use Reap. Okay, I see. Okay, I see how it works. So now you can see every time you use a Meteor Strike, it actually, every time I use a Reap now, it summons down Meteors just 1 time, and then you have to wait for your Reap to actually be ready again. But the cool thing about this talent here, okay, so it was actually as I understood it. The cool thing about this one here is when you actually, you cannot when you actually have 3 stacks now of the Voidfall, then when you use your Reap, it will actually summon, it will throw down all 3 of them. So you don't have to use 3 Reaps to call down all Meteor Strikes. Now you can just use 1 Reap, and then it calls down all 3 Meteor Strikes, which of course is going to help you with your entire rotation. So yeah, so now when I use my Reap, when I don't have 3 stacks, it's not going to summon them. Now I actually need to have 3 stacks. But then you can also see it kind of keep summoning them all and using all 3 stacks, which is very nice. So instead of you had to use 3 times Reaps, which you couldn't do anyway because, cooldowns, now it will just come ASAP and give them way more meteors at once, which is quite nice. Enemy struck by Voidfall Meteor takes an additional 25% damage or 8 seconds. Activating Void Ray out of combat or within 5 seconds of entering combat calls down 3 Voidfall Meteors or its duration. So basically, if we activate our Void Ray, either outside of combat or within the first 5 seconds of combat, it calls down 3 Voidfall Meteors or its duration. So basically, I would need to get into combat, and I would need to get 100 Fury very fast. So we're going to see if I can actually make that happen. There we go. I'm pretty sure I did that less than 5 seconds. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did that with less 5 seconds, but I guess maybe this one doesn't work. But anyway, it's alpha. Then we also have your first collapsing star after casting Void Metamorphosis, causing a cosmic meteor shower to assault the rear, dealing 1,200 cosmic damage over 6 seconds. So basically, when you go into Metamorphosis and you get, what I talked about before, then we get collapsing star. But now when we actually calls it down, the collapsing star, it also creates an AoE area around them up, where it keeps falling down with small stars for 6 seconds, which is quite nice. Then we have each stack of Voidfall grant 2% reduced damage taken. Consuming generates 5 additional Fury and deal 25% increased damage. So that means now our filler spell Consume is dealing 25% increased damage, and it gives us 5 additional Fury, which of course is going to help us to stay in Metamorphosis, since it now is going to give us more Fury. And then also Collapsing Star and Voidfall Meteors now deals 35% increased damage when striking a single target. Each additional target reduces this bonus by 5%. So of course it will deal 35% damage, but then every time there's one more target, it will deal 5% less damage. So you can see these are quite nice, where this one over here, in the end, it just gives us like 3% more haste for 12 seconds, even after, where this one here is like reducing damage, more fury, more damage to consume, and this one here is giving so much more damage to both Collapsing Star and Voidfall, like literally 35%. So, in my opinion, I think this is going to be the meta thing. We also have World Killer. The third Voidfall Meteor strike cooldown is sequentially larger, has 50% increased area, and deals 100% increased damage, and generates 2 laser soul fragments. So basically, so when you summon those Voidfalls, the number 3 Voidfall you summon down is going to be like bigger, deals more damage, and actually gives us soul, which is quite nice. So yeah, so that's the middle tree, the Annihilator. It's basically all about summoning meteors and making our Collapsing Star even stronger. So very, very fitting for the Collapsing Star talent build. And then we have the Devourer tree. This tree is interesting because, I mean, over here, most of the stuff is, of course, things we already know. This is, of course, also nice, but, you know, it's just like passives. But this over here is actually, you know, that's the new Devourer tree, which is the interesting one. First of all, we have Void Ray, which is kind of like I-Beam for normal Havoc Demon Hunters, or Fell, I can't remember what it's called for tanks, something with Fell Reef or something. But here, Void Ray is basically the same. It's a blue beam that comes out, it deals damage, it deals a lot of damage, and consumes 5 Fury every 0.1 seconds. It basically lasts for 2.6 seconds, or if your Fury is reaching 0. And again, your Fury is like it's kind of like, you know, Rage for a warrior. So yeah, but you're basically shooting an I-Beam out. It will keep draining your Fury until it goes down to 0 or after 2.6 seconds. Yeah. Then we have Soul Immolation. This is basically replacing Immolation Aura, which is, I mean, for example, we have this one here, which is giving you more armor when you're using Immolation Aura. I would assume this one also works for this one over here, but for some reason it doesn't work right now. But again, it's alpha, so, you know, it's the early stage of testing the expansion. You know, when everyone else comes in on beta, who have pre-ordered, then of course things are going to be more smooth. But still, this gives us an ID. Basically, what this one do is that now Immolation Aura doesn't do damage. It actually do damage to yourself. But you might be asking, okay, why is this good? So the thing is, like, it generates 30 Fury and 3 Souls over 5 seconds. So Fury helps us to stay inside our Void Metamorphosis. So we can actually, with using this spell here, we can stay even longer inside our Metamorphosis. And also it gives us Souls, which we need to get into Metamorphosis. And also, when I talk about Metamorphosis, I don't know how you say that, but basically it helps us to get into our like demon form, and it also helps us creating more of these collapsing stars inside our demon form. So basically now it's just like it's a tool that will just help us get more resources and let us stay longer time inside our Metamorphosis. Then we also have consumed damage is increased by 15, and now will always generate a soul fragment, which is really nice. So, you know, our normal filler spell we have deals more damage, and also it always gives us a soul, which is nice because, you know, we need souls to get into our Metamorphosis form. Then we also have Tempered Soul. The cooldown of its Soul Immolation is reduced by 30 and it gains 1 additional charge. So now we have Soul Immolation with 2 charges and it only has a 30-second cooldown. I prefer Spontaneous Immolation, which is basically removing the spell, making it passive, and every time you're casting a spell, a damaging spell, it has a chance to actually activate it. But the problem is the single button assistant doesn't work with this one here. It keeps trying to use a passive spell, which it cannot. So the entire single button rotation doesn't work with this one here. I have already reported, you know, we have this report button here. I have already reported it, so it doesn't work. But yeah, when they fix it, I will definitely go with this one here instead. Then we have, of course, Void Metamorphosis. So when you have collected 35 soul fragments, you gain access to Void Metamorphosis. You ascend to a higher state, being substantial empowering of your abilities, while being inside your Void Metamorphosis, you consume and reap are enhanced, and your fury will slowly drain. Additionally, Void Ray reduce your fury drain, deals increased damage, and no longer consumes fury. So basically, when you are inside the Metamorphosis, by the way, it normally costs 50 souls to get into, but I have this one down here, which makes it cost 15%, 15 less, so it's 35. And also it's gonna drain my fury faster while being in. So you can get like faster into it, but you will also be shorter inside it. Basically, when you go into this one here, then your Reap and your Consume is getting empowered. They're also changing icons and basically becoming stronger spells. And now Void Ray is not going to consume Fury when we are actually inside our Metamorphosis, which would make sense because when you are inside Metamorphosis, it drains the Fury, and when you get to 0, you get out. This is the cool thing. You never go out of Metamorphosis unless you get down on 0 Fury. So you're going to stay as long as you keep getting energy. And now Void Ray doesn't cost, it doesn't use Fury. Now it actually kind of like stops the Fury gain while like it, when you use it inside the Metamorphosis, it will slow down how much you're draining Fury default. So it's kind of like helping you to stay inside it. And when you're casting Collapsing Star, it actually also pauses it to also help you staying inside it, which is super cool. So kind of like see it as like a guard mode you go into, like your really strong mode, and then you need to keep getting Fury Rage to like stay inside it, which is quite a nice like little mechanic. Then we have Soul Fragments grants 1% increased damage for 10 seconds. Multiple application may overlap. So every time when you actually like generate a soul like this, you can see now I generate a soul, and now you actually get like a more % damage, which is quite nice. So now you just get passively damage. We also have Reap now generates 10 Fury, so our spell here where we're actually using like a Scythe, you can see it's pretty cool animation, this Scythe here. It now also gives us 10 Fury, which is very nice. You could also take Void Blade, damage is increased by 25, and Void Blade now generate 20 Fury. That's the charge spell we have, but I rather have a more fluent and nice rotation with Reap than improving our charge ability. Maybe in PvP, but I don't know. Then we also have while in combat, you generate 1 soul fragment every 8 seconds. Very nice. But while out of combat, you will slowly build toward your Void Metamorphosis up to 25 souls. This is Omega. So that means you will always have 25 souls when you go into combat because you are generating up to 25 outside of combat. If you don't have this one here, you basically have to build up all the 35 souls every time you go into combat, which can be quite a long fight. So I'm pretty sure all this up here is going to be picked all the time. It's more like down here what you want to do, because you can make a melee build here, a ranged build with this. Like it's kind of like you can actually do quite a lot with this build here. It's quite fascinating. Then we also have this one here. After a fully challenging Void Ray, the cooldown of Reap is reset, and your next Reap will collect up to 6 additional soul fragments. So basically, when you are using Consume, you are getting soul fragments, and when you're using Reap, it automatically drags in 4 of them. So you don't have to like run around and consume them yourself. Like that would be a waste of time, like running around and getting them. So basically, now when you're using Reap, it takes 4 of them in. But now, as it says, if you use Void Ray fully cast, don't like cancel it, it will actually make your Reap even like better. And you can see here, like now I use a Void Ray, and then now my Reap is increased, and it will actually drag in 6 of them, which is very nice. So yeah, it just like goes all together. Very, very nice. And of course, because I'll be using the single button assistant, we're using a macro, so we're not interrupting it. So we will never interrupt it because of the macro, or else you would interrupt it normally. Then we also have Reap gains an additional charge, which is very nice because we love Reap. It deals a lot of damage. It gives us soul charge. Well, it pulls into soul charges, so of course we want additional charges of it. Then we have damage from Void Ray has a 100% increased chance to generate a soul fragment. Even more souls. We love souls because we need souls to get into our Metamorphosis, or even using Collapsing Star inside the Metamorphosis. And then we also have Soul Shaper. Each soul fragment gathered from Reap increases its damage by 8, which is even more cool. So if you have actually 6 souls and you pull them in with Reap, it will actually deal like more damage from each of them, which is quite nice. So even more damage to Reap. Woohoo. Then we also got Void Ray deals 25% more damage when damaging a single target. Very nice. Of course, this one can be discussed if you want to, like, use it in a dungeon. You could possibly take it off for like a normal dungeon, because you're going to be fighting a lot of trash mobs, and then maybe take something like the damage of Reap is increased by 10, or your damaging critical strike deals. This one would actually be maybe like cool. So all your, well, actually, yeah, I think I'm going to take this one instead. Because then all my crits are going to deal 220% more damage instead of 200. And I mean, this one is nice against bosses only, but I mean, usually I would play like a kind of like a dungeon delve build. And of course, if I do like I could change a bit stuff. Like anyway, if I wanted to do single target, I might change around. But I think this is actually a good change to go away from this one here and take this one instead. So we do more crit damage, since we are always critting with our collapsing star because of this one here. Then we have collapsing star. Basically, while in Void Metamorphosis, every 30 soul fragment harvest grant access to a collapsing star. Basically, when you are inside Metamorphosis, you're gonna be generating souls. When you get 30 souls, the Metamorphosis spell is changed to another spell, which looks like this, where you basically, it's kind of like, Dragon Ball, where he like creates an entire like energy ball over his head, and he just like throws it. It looks freaking amazing. I'm gonna show you it when we get to the rotation part, but it's really cool, and it deals a 10k damage. Remember, we have stat squish, so 10k is a lot, but because of this one over here, collapsing star is always critting. Because of this one here, all my cosmic damage deals 6% more damage, and also it says all the crit I have, the more crit I have, the more damage my crits is doing from critical, like collapsing star critical strike damage is increased by 100% of your critical strike chance. So the more crit I have, the more damage my collapsing star is doing, which is insane. And then this one here is giving us a free collapsing star we can use every time we go into Metamorphosis. So, I mean, Metamorphosis, always critting, critting even more stronger with the more crit we have. A free collapsing star, so we can use it the moment we get into Metamorphosis. It's all going to make way more sense for you when we actually get to the rotation part. And now, of course, I have this one here, which makes it crit even harder, which is super nice. Then we have this one here. The duration of Feast of the Soul is increased by 4 seconds, which is this one up here, where every time we are, getting a soul, we're doing more damage. And then we have this one here, Void Ray damage is increased by 15, which is nice. I mean, it's just like passively 15% more damage to Void Ray. Pretty cool. We could also go without it and go with something like else. Maybe your haste is increased by 2 while in Void Metamorphosis, but again, I mean, it's like minor things. Then we have the damage of collapsing stars increased by 20, which is very nice. Each collapsing star you cast increases the damage of your next collapsing star by 15. So basically, you can get a really good rotation going where you can actually get enough souls to create even more collapsing star inside the same, demon form Metamorphosis, which is pretty cool. So it keeps like increasing the damage of the next one. But trust me, it's hard to cast a lot of them, because the longer you are inside your demon form, the faster the fury is going to get, like absorbed. Collapsing Star now generates 5 soul fragments, which is nice, because then when we actually cast it, we already have 5 out of 30, which we need. And then this one here is Omega. Your Void Metamorphosis require 15 less souls. Your fury drain 25% faster while in Metamorphosis. So basically, we can get very faster into Void Metamorphosis, which means we're going to have way more Collapsing Stars we can use. Though, I think maybe this one here is Omega for like dungeons and delves where you need to like, switch combat a lot of times. Where I think Emptiness maybe would be better for like a raid where you're going to be fighting on a raid boss for a long time, so it doesn't matter to get into your Metamorphosis very fast. Because this one here, every soul consumed in Void Metamorphosis grant 0.25% haste up to 25%. So basically this one here is doing so we are, draining faster fury inside Metamorphosis, but we can get into it faster. This one here is not doing so we are draining it faster, but this one actually gives us more haste, which is actually going to help us generate more fury. So this one here, we can have a very, very longer Metamorphosis form. So I mean, probably dungeon, probably raid. I would probably see it like that way. Then your chance to shatter a lesser soul fragment from enemies Your chance to shatter a lesser soul fragment from enemies, your damage is increased by 4. Your chance to shatter a lesser soul fragment from enemies. I think there's some typo in there. But I think what they're saying is that we have 4% bigger chance to like get a soul. Again, it's alpha. After fully channeling Void Ray, gain 20 Fury. Very nice. You deal 12% increased damage for up to 12 seconds upon entering Void Metamorphosis. Damage bonus reduced over its duration. So basically, when we get into Metamorphosis, we deal 12% more damage, and then it will like slowly go down. But this is nice because the moment we get into Metamorphosis, we're gonna throw a Collapsing Star ASAP. So it basically increases the Collapsing Star by 12%. And then of course this one here, which makes all our crits, instead of dealing 200% more damage, 220% more damage. And it scales very nice with this one here. You can also take this one here, which is super nice, where we're increasing the damage of Reap by 20. And this one here, fully channeling a Void Ray, cause your next Reap to deal 4,000 damage and to all enemies within 25. So basically, it's kind of like attacking everyone in front of you, like a very big cone. It's attacking everyone. This one here could also be super powerful in like in a dungeon, I would think. You know, it has so many things. Like, do you want like a super strong Collapsing Star, or do you want super strong Reap? It's really hard. Like, I'm really like debating what is best, to like go with these or go with these over here, like, because I really like both of them. But I think for this one now, I'm gonna go with what I have here. So that's the talents. Yeah, so let's go to the rotation. So basically the rotation. This spec is quite interesting, because normally your rotation would look like something where you actually are using soul immolation, which keeps giving you fury and keeps generating like souls for you, which is nice. And you kind of like want to cast it both times to like, you know, keep getting, you know, your fury and soul immolation. Then you have consume, which is kind of like our main filler. It's like the main filler that deals damage and creates souls. And then we want to use reap to get in those souls again. So you kind of like use consume, like, you know, you kind of like use just 2 consumes and then reap, because then you have like 4 souls, 2 consumes, and then reap. Of course, this is a single button assistant guide, so we're going to talk about the single button assistant. The single button assistant is actually, I just kind of want to like let you know what the normal rotation looks like. And then of course we have Void Ray, and it's very important we cast it fully, because of, you know, we have the passives from here, and we also have, you know, the effect where our Void Reaper is becoming even stronger. So our Reap is getting even stronger when using it with a fully charged Void Ray. And Void Ray doesn't have a cooldown, it can be used every time you have 100 Fury. So you can see already now, I have 100 again, so I can use it freaking already again. It's really cool, and it just like, it makes the gameplay for this spec here so like, yeah, fun. Then the single button assistant is using automatically consume, reap, soul immolation, void metamorphosis, and void ray. So basically every spell I just talked about, it uses it for you. So you don't have to worry about these 5 spells I have out here on the right side. It actually does it for you. So you can see now it want to use reap, which doesn't actually make sense since we don't have any souls around. But yeah, it want to use reap. Now it wants to go into metamorphosis. Now it want to use consume, which is called devour when you are inside. Because, you know, your spells changes when you're inside this form here. So basically the goal of this form here, you can see my fury is getting drained very fast. The goal of this form here is just to keep like trying to, it's all about like trying to, you know, what am I trying to say? It's all about like being very fast at using your spells. Like now you can see it's using consuming. Did you see that? That was like the consuming, what is it called? Collapsing Star. So basically, it's all about trying to get as much fury while you are inside this spec here, because you want to like stay as long inside the Void Metamorphosis as possible. So, but you can see now already we are getting more souls. When it hits 30 souls, I will basically be allowed to cast a Collapsing Star again. Sadly, it didn't happen, but you are very, very close to get 30 again. If we didn't go with this one here, and maybe this one here, we would have gotten it without any issues, but then it will also take longer time to get into the Metamorphosis form. So I really hope it makes sense. Basically, when you are outside Metamorphosis, it's all about getting 35 souls. That's the only goal. It's all about getting those 35 souls, nothing more. Just getting 35 souls, that's the entire like rotation. Then once you get 35 souls, it's all about staying inside the Metamorphosis as long as possible using your spells. and trying to get as many souls as possible, because we see now I got my Metamorphosis. Now we cross the Collapsing Star, which you're getting for free. 50k damage. Like, did you see that? I have 50k HP. That could literally have one-shot someone in PvP. And the cool thing about this spec here is that all the spells, even Devour and Consume, can be used while moving. And they have up to 25 range, which is amazing. And even your Void Ray has a range of 25. And now we're using Collapsing Star. Very nice. That was our second Collapsing Star. So now Collapsing Star is increased by 13% damage because it was our second one. But again, you can move every single spell in this rotation while moving, except Void Ray. Void Ray is the only spell you cannot use, but everything else can be used. So I think this spec is also going to be amazing for PvP, because you can, like, you know, basically move it. Of course, you cannot, like, now we're using Collapsing Star, and of course you cannot move while you're also doing that. But again, this spec is basically, you have like a, what should we call it? You have like a energy phase and you have a spender phase. You know, like a build up phase and a spender phase. So you build up to get into your Metamorphosis, and then you have the Metamorphosis phase where it's all about getting as much damage out as possible, staying in the Metamorphosis as long as possible, and casting as many Collapsing Stars as possible. Of course, you can build totally different builds with, you know, for example, going with Feldscard and taking this melee tree here instead. Then it will look totally different. But just the build I have made for this video, I thought this was like a super, super cool spec. But still, yeah. And I mean, the longer the game has been out, and when all the meta players, they started to, like, you know, build specs, this might not be like a good spec after all. But for me, for testing, I thought this was like a really, really cool spec. Beside of that, we have, of course, Throglaive. It doesn't do any damage, really. It's kind of like pointless. But it still applies to the debuff, you know, the one where we deal more magic damage, so it's fine. Then we have Void Blade, which is like a charge we have. It's a pretty cool charge spell. It just, you know, it deals 2000 damage, which is okay. So, I mean, you can integrate it into your rotation, like you maybe put in a number 2. And you can easily put it into your rotation, because it still deals okay damage. But it's usually more for, like, you know, catching up on mobs and stuff. But yeah, still okay damage. I mean, 2000 damage is still okay when Consume is dealing 3000 damage. Then we have Shift. Basically, it's our, like, teleport around. Very, very cool. We have our Interrupt, which you can, like, interrupt your target. So if they're casting a spell you don't like, we can interrupt it. Vengeful Retreat, where we can, like, jump back. And, you know, it removes all snares, so we can, like, get away from bad stuff. Then we have Consume Magic, which is removing a beneficial magic effect from the target. Gives Fury if we actually do it. We also have Spectral Sight, where we can see people in stealth, if that is ever needed. We also have Blur, which is reducing all damage by 25% for 10 seconds. We also have Darkness, where there's a 50% chance to avoid all damage from an attack for 11 seconds. And chance to avoid damage is increased by 100 when not in a raid. So, yeah, I guess that means 30% in dungeons. We also have Imprison, which is basically like, it's kind of like the same as Sheep, but it imprisons an enemy for like 1 minute, but can only be used on Demon, Beast, or Humanoid. Then we have Void Nova, which is our stun. It's kind of like new. Normally, when you have this stun here that is green, it stuns everyone around you. This one here actually stuns on the target and everyone around the target, which is super cool. But it kind of makes sense, because this build here, for example, we are playing right now, and how I have built it is a ranger build. You never have to go close to it. All the spells we have in this spec here, and this build here I have created, is all 25-yard range. I never have to get on melee to them, like literally never. My Void Ray has 25 range, my Consume has 25 range, my Reap has 25 range, my Collapsing Star has 25 range. So yeah, it's a ranged Demon Hunter build. And of course you can build, for example, something like Hungering Slash, which is a melee spell. But it's up to you if you want to go my melee or just range it. But I have made a pure ranged build. And then we have Taunt. Not really needed for us, but, you know, I just took it down since, you know, I had space for it. So that's pretty much the rotation. So since we cannot queue for dungeons, let's go to the summary, and I'm gonna just very quickly talk about everything you needed to know. So for a very quick summary, basically this is an intellect build. The new Devourer spec for Demon Hunters is using intellect instead of agility. It's a ranged build. You can also build it so it both uses melee and ranged, but I have built a purely build that is like, you know, totally only about like ranged. And so the stats we're using is, first of all, intellect and eye level. I always recommend going with the highest upgrade level. That's up to you, but I kind of always go with the highest eye level. Then we need critical strike, because then we are dealing more damage with our collapsing stars. So the more crit we have, the more damage we actually deal with that spell. We also like haste because it gives us more energy regeneration, like it's called Fury, which makes us stay even longer inside Void Metamorphosis. It's kind of like help us. It also reduces the global cooldown, which we get increased by using the single button assistant. So it's just overall, it really helps us to have a way more smoother rotation. Versatility for increasing flat damage and reduce the damage we take. Mastery is also just flat out increasing the damage. But I see versatility as a higher value than mastery in this case here. And let's get rid of this. Regarding talents, I have built a talent that is purely about ranged. So we have a lot of passive stuff, which is we're using Annihilator, which is basically calling down meteors on the target. Again, very ranged friendly, where Felskard is way more it's very more, it's a bit more happier for melee build. We have the standard utilities. I cannot really change anything because you can see all these talents here, they don't exist. So we have taken whatever we really can. But it's kind of like the standard things you already have seen at Demon Hunter today, except we have this one here called Void Blade. The build at the right side is purely about ranged, so it's all about casting stuff from a distance, casting. I have basically built a build that is way much about the collapsing star, which is a very big a very big damage ability we cast, where I'm basically making it always crit. It will deal more damage depending on how many crit I have, and I will get a free one every time we go into Metamorphosis. Also, I have done so we get faster into Metamorphosis, so we don't have to wait for a long time, but we get way faster into it. But all very cool ranger build. Let me show you very quickly how it works. Basically, you have a energy phase and you have a spender phase. The first phase is that you're gonna you're just gonna get a lot of energy to get your you're getting souls and energy the first phase, and then you get into your Metamorphosis where it's all about spending all your energy. As you can see, my Fury is draining very fast here in the top left corner, and it's all about using spells quickly so you don't get down to 0, because Metamorphosis is on you forever until you get down to 0 Fury. So it's all about spamming your abilities and just doing as good as you can as possible. So it's just and the cool thing about the spec here is all your spells is having a range of 25 range, and most of the spells can be used while moving. The only spells we cannot use by moving is Void Ray, which is the laser beam, and our collapsing star, which is the big star you saw I was casting before. But now you can see I'm in the energy phase where I need to get souls and energy. It's all about getting 35 souls. Once you can see in the void, you can see here or here how many souls we have. But basically, consume is creating, the consume, you can see the spell I'm casting is creating souls, and the reap, the one with the scythe, is getting in the souls. So it's kind of the what you call it, the man with the dead guy. He's kind of consuming in the souls with his scythe. And then when we get 35 souls, we get into our demon form, and that's now it's all about dealing as much possible as possible. If you know what I mean. So, and also it changes our spells, so it becomes even improves. But again, it's all about getting the 35 souls, and then when you get the 35 souls, it's all about just you're trying to get as many collapsing stars as possible, because then every time you get 30 souls inside the Metamorphosis, you can see now it casts. It's supposed to do it now. Now we do it. Now you can see collapsing star. It's all about getting as many collapsing stars as possible while we are inside the Metamorphosis build. And it will be harder the longer we are inside it, the more Fury it's going to use. So that's the summary. So basically, it's an intellect build. I have made it so it's purely range. You can be away up to 25 range. Uses intellect, crit haste, ranger build, new build for the game. Yeah, I mean it's not really more than that. It's quite simple. We have a spell that gives us energy. We have a spell that uses a laser beam. A consume spell, which is our a normal filler, which is quite nice. It's kind of like a casting spell. You can cast while running. It gives us souls, and reap is getting into the souls. So yeah. if you want to have a big explanation on this, you probably have to watch the entire video. But I hope it makes sense. It's a very simple build. Once you understand it, like the spender phase, like the burning, like the build phase and the spender phase, it's quite easy. Like overall, it's quite easy. So yeah. So I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And yeah, I thought it was fun to make a little video about the Devourer Demon Hunter.